It is now slowly becoming that time where micro optimism is entering the market. If you actually look at how the weekly candle just closed, you will certainly see this. This is Bitcoin in front of you. Look at that wick. I mean, the length of the wick says a lot. One thing to keep in mind, Bitcoin dropped from $126,000 all the way down to $80,000. That's a $46,000 drop in Bitcoin. Now what? Yeah, I think there is something coming in a bouncy side, meaning short term, the price has to go get more people because I think there's a lot of sellers who are starting to take their profits. So they're covering their shorts, which means buying power at a support from the shorters taking profits to those who are coming to take micro moves. Both of them are coming into this market. Now, it will not be a straight line to the upside. It will be micro moves for sure. If Bitcoin is about to push that micro legs, then somewhere around 93,000 is going to be a good target to see if Bitcoin can hit that. That's level 1. Level 2 is 100,000. As I said before, $100,000 was that psychological level which you actually lost. So going back to retest that region and then getting rejected, that should be the next leg, and that should be the panic leg. This is what I truly believe. Now, you go pick up multiple assets. This is XRP. The weekly candle close is very important for XRP right here at this point because that $2 mark has been a strong support and a psychological level. So if you are to give that up, it's not good. Now, in XRP terms, what would a bounce in Bitcoin mean? Yeah. You pick up this and you're watching this. So if the price of XRP can break through the first barrier, which is 2.12, that's a relief sign. And if that can continue further and come about 2.34, that's good. But it is going to be hard, at least the way it looks like right now. It shows there is a lot of pressure in the market. And if you give this one up, now you know the targets are much, much lower. But in between, while you look at a short-term chart, you can actually focus on this and say, okay, there's a lot of possibilities that you may bounce. You may attempt all these levels I just talked about. Now, say you pick up Ether, because that gives you a lot more idea about the altcoin market, right? You came down here. Now, this trend line is broken, yeah? So you need to go back up to test that trend line and then get rejected. Remember, $3,000 has been kept as a psychological level, and you're right now closing the weekly below that. So there should be some kind of a trap coming in. I mean, there should be some, yeah, because you close the weekly here at below that. So you come back up saying, okay, I'm going back, and people would jump in buying, and at that region, it would go lower. Now, keep this in mind. If this thing is to bounce 10-15%, there would be smaller altcoins which would do even bigger. Comparing that, don't get confused, yeah? Because slowly it will come back down. So keep your mind focused on the long-term positions, long-term idea. And when you do the micro, now I'll remove all of those. When you remove the micro, you can observe those pictures. Now, on a weekly, when you do watch all of these, one of the primary things which you have to keep in your mind, which I would argue, is that the positioning here, which you're watching in front of you, is tight, isn't it? Meaning you're looking at this in a way that there is a wick possibility, a long wick possibility at this point. You can come back up to test that region. When you go on to a 3-day chart, that says, okay, fine, you took support a little bit above that too. So somewhere in between can be that range. So the conservative range will be somewhere around 150. And that's in this asset, one asset. So you look at that 3-day candle close, you look at that weekly, and you're like, okay, there's a long wick which pierced through and absorbed a lot of demand. Right now, you did somewhat similar move. So starting to think like, okay, there is a trend line which is playing out, which is not bad. That's a decent trend line. So if you can actually bounce into that trend line and then get rejected, that should be where some kind of panic enters the crypto market. What will be the news? I don't know. Which exchange is going to go bankrupt? I don't know. What's going to happen? I don't know. But if you look at the history, you already know. The first drop to the downside in crypto, there was no bad news. Yeah, it was just like this $46,000 drop here without any bad news. Good. But after that, the next drop, as it started, as it was going down, you got a bad news in last cycle. Yeah, Terra Luna, boom, went down. After it consolidated a bit more, you got another one, boom, Celsius. Now it consolidated for some time without any bad news, and all of a sudden in November 2022, you got FTX collapsing. So that's another bad news. So till that down, you had a lot of those bad news coming into the picture. Good? Now think about it. When you zoom in, you kind of get to see the picture differently. You're watching multiple levels. You're on different horizon. You know where to take the positions. You can see clearly where it is breaking higher. Yeah. If you are a pattern-based guy, you would argue, okay, this is what you're watching. There has been a breakout. If you watch the trend line, there is a takeoff. Like you're following the price action, right, on different horizon. So depending on what kind of a trader you are, you're watching this. You're like, okay, fine. I kind of get the picture. This is what's happening in the market. And remember, candle closes matter a lot more. So say, for example, this was a break. Yeah, this was a clear breakout here. So for such a micro asset coming back down to test that breakout and then going back up would be logical. Yeah, because that was a clean and clear breakout. You coming back down, testing that and bouncing back up would be a great choice. Yeah, for the price action to actually do. So now in that sense, you need to look at the market. Is that overbought? Is it entering overbought region? Is there a lot of buyers? What time horizon are you watching that? Yeah. So pick your asset. It's completely up to you. Now, if you want to help, we are actually posting those here. The stop loss, the take profit, the levels, all of that is in the Patreon. So if you want, you can think about the micro bounces or you wait for that bounce to complete and to go back to your long-term shorts or to add on to your shorts.